We're here with our first ever guest, James from the Public Domain Superheroes. We met on Reddit, which is
It's new. It's new for you.
it's all new for me.
Uh,
Everything's new for me.
You've never been
It's
on Reddit
Reddit.
before. I
It's
went down the
Reddit.
Reddit rabbit hole.
It's what?
It's Reddit. Reddit is Reddit. It's its own sort of strange environment, and I like it. But I love
Yeah.
Substack. I that's why I brought you over here because I love Substack. I think
Yeah. Oh yeah. And
on that.
I think it's so much better because it's more creators and Reddit is everybody and their mom.
Everybody with an opinion.
Yeah. Lots of opinions.
I liken Reddit to being high school. Reddit is high school. Reddit is
Yeah.
there's a lot of in groups. There's a lot of bullying. There's a lot of sort of gang mentality that happens there. There's also a lot of good information if you can sort of put up with everything else. There's things you can get out of it that are worth getting out of it. But yeah, it's a lot of work. Reddit can be a lot of work.
Yeah. So I am so interested in what you do. Because it took me down a rabbit hole. It really, really did. And then I was telling him about it, and he was like, "What?"
Mhm.
And then, of course, I went down like the difference between copyright and the difference between that and trademark. And I was actually amazed at what I learned because I had read that because I wanted to know about Disney characters. Well, the copyright with the Disney characters and the trademark is different. How they trademark, like, what did I say? Cinderella's blue dress is trademarked.
Ariel's red hair.
Ariel's red hair. So it was very, very interesting. So what got you started?
Well, that's actually kind of like where I came from to this. What happened with me was I was watching, just being just a normal person watching television, reading the news, and I see first I see Mickey Mouse hits the public domain, and I knew what that meant, but I wasn't really that interested. I was like, oh, okay, Mickey Mouse is in the public domain. I know that means that other people can use him as a character, but I didn't know all the ins and outs. I had no idea what that really meant in terms of what people could and couldn't do. And I didn't honestly care. Mickey Mouse is not that important to me. It's not a character I'm that invested in. So I wasn't all that worried about it. Then they did the first thing that really hit the public consciousness was a slasher movie. It was a Mickey Mouse, Steamboat Willie slasher movie. And I thought, okay, I can see that because they're cheap to make and they're quick to make and they're easy. And they capitalize on the talking about the public. I get it. Yeah. Then the same thing happened to Winnie the Pooh. And I thought, now Winnie the Pooh I am invested in. Winnie the Pooh is my guy. I mean, he's my guy. And I'm like, okay, now they're doing this to Winnie the Pooh. That's just not cool. I don't even like that. Winnie the Pooh as a slasher character is like, that's just wrong. But again, I'm a big free speech guy. So, hey, do what you do. That's fine. But then I got started thinking about it. I thought, okay, well, what does this mean? Because I realized that Superman is about the same age as Winnie the Pooh and Mickey Mouse within a few years. And I'm like, okay, so that means Superman's coming and you can do. So that got me intrigued. And that was where I started doing what you did. And I started reading and finding out about what public domain really means and what trademark is and how it all works. And I had this idea, and I'm not revealing this idea. It's one of the few things I'm not revealing yet about my universe. I had this idea for a Superman story, and I can tell you that it takes place in 1938. It takes place in the time. My first foremost thing with it is I'm taking Superman back to his original creation date, to the same time period that he was created in, to tell a story from that time period as opposed to what's going on today and all the rest. I wanted to do an old school, end of the Depression era Superman story. And then I thought, yeah, okay, sure, James, how are you going to do that? With what money? How are come on, you're a guy working a regular job, and so then I entered ChatGPT, and I know there's a big anti-AI thing out there, but I will give ChatGPT this much of a prop. ChatGPT convinced me that if I started writing and I created a universe where public domain characters could evolve and interact and be together, and I was throwing these ideas at ChatGPT and it was throwing them back at me, it convinced me that I could make money at this, which is not true. Unfortunately, it's not true. It's sadly, ChatGPT way overestimated how much money I could make doing this. And naive me, who'd never used ChatGPT before, got all excited and thought, I'm going to try this. And I was watering trees at the time, doing the same thing I'm doing this year. And I started writing. I just started writing. And I write fast. So within about a month and a half, I had a book ready to publish. Now,
oh wow.
Yeah, I've done something called the 3-day novel contest 4 times actually. It's literally write a book in 3 days over the Labor Day weekend. This contest has been running for about 45 years, and it's a global thing. And I thought I can write fast. I write fast. It's what I do. It's just, but I've always done it for me and nobody else. And I'm like, okay, well, maybe if I write enough of these things and I put them all together and I create my universe that I have in my head and I put them out there, maybe I can come up with enough cash that I can hire an animation studio to make my Superman movie. This was where all that sort of came from. And anybody who says, oh, you got the idea from ChatGPT, no, I did not get the idea from ChatGPT. What I did do is what we all do now with ChatGPT and other AI things is I asked it to tell me in a more succinct fashion than Google some of the facts around what I was trying to figure out. I asked it to analyze, give me an opinion. Is this a good idea or a bad idea? I did that kind of thing with it. And it was very new and I'd never used it before, so I didn't do it very well. But it convinced me I could make money. It was totally wrong, but I can't sue it. It will not let me sue it. So there's nobody there I can sue on the other end. But that's where it came from. I went down the same rabbit hole you did, and I just got all excited. And now a year later, 11 months later, I've published 10 books in that universe. I've got a comic book that I'm working towards producing. I've got 2 reprints of public domain works that were published, but I found out Amazon has some funky rules, so I pulled them, and I've got to update them and correct them before I can put them back. I've got the Substack thing. I've got a YouTube channel with over 500 videos on it that is specifically public domain stuff. It's all old serials and superhero stuff from mostly the 1930s and 40s. But it's a growing thing, and I'm slowly but surely getting to the point where I can actually see in the distant future ChatGPT being right.
Yeah.
Actually making money at it, but not nearly on the timeline ChatGPT back this time. Yeah, they were like, "Oh yeah, by the end of the year you'll be making a living." No, just no.
Yeah, no, I absolutely think that if you can get out there, that you can make money on that, because it's the same thing as they're doing now. They're taking these characters and they're rewriting the stories. I mean, since Spider-Man, when was Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man? In early 2000s, my goodness. They've changed the story 3 times.
Absolutely.
And people are still interested. So I absolutely think that you have something there. I think people would love it if you could just get it out there.
Yeah.
It's getting the eyeballs on it. That's right. And that's why I do stuff like this. That's why I'm all over Substack. It's why I'm on Reddit. It's why I'm on Facebook. I'm trying very hard. All I want is to be able to do this. I'm happy to tell the story. If I can make enough money and no more, then keeps me afloat and keeps me ahead of my bills, and never make a dime more than that for the rest of my life, I'm happy to do that. That's fine. I'm not interested in being I don't care about big money. I don't care. What I care about is writing and telling good stories, and I love doing that. And what's really interesting about the public domain that most people don't realize is just how many characters are out there to be reinvented, reimagined, retold, and redrafted in ways that in my case, pretty much every character gets a little bend. They get a little change from the original. I don't see a lot of point of doing a whole bunch of slavishly the same as what it was in the 1940s stories. It doesn't appeal to me. I'm telling 2026 stories. They're set in different time periods, but I'm telling them as a 2026 author with 2026 experience. And the universe I'm building is built around my lived experience. It's built around my life, because how else can you write? You can only sort of draw on what you are and what you know. But it's fun. It's a blast. I'm having a good time. I'll tell you that much.
Yeah. And I I've been on your YouTube. I've looked at your all your stuff on your page, and it's definitely very interesting. We like superheroes. We like all that stuff. We like a lot of anime.
Yeah.
And I think that would be really cool to do something like that with anime, but not a lot of animes are old enough to get in that public domain.
Yeah, anime is a relatively recent creation. I grew up here in Canada. We watched something called Battle of the Planets, which was a recut version of Gatchaman. In the 1970s, I didn't know what the hell Gatchaman was. I'd never heard of it, but I had heard of Battle of the Planets, which was a westernized version where they basically took Gatchaman, cut it up, put little snippets in between of a Western sort of R2-D2 character who sort of stitched everything together. And I watched that every day after school for years. And that's the only anime I'm really super familiar with. I went out and found Gatchaman later on as an adult once I realized how it all worked. So I love Gatchaman. Unfortunately, not going to be public domain anytime soon. But the idea of a super team that does intergalactic stuff, oh hell yeah, I'll be doing that. I mean, that's on my radar. If you read my books, the universe is basically taking place in two distinct spheres, and three if you consider history. But basically, there's what's going on Earth, there's what's going on in the Empire of Mongo, and so far they're not really connected, but they are connected. Trust me, they're very connected. And so that means that down the road, there may well be not Gatchaman, but there may well be an intergalactic team of heroes doing similar type things to put that sort of adventure into my universe. Right now, my sci-fi heroes are Buck Rogers, John Carter, and a guy named Crash Corrigan. I'm going to be adding some other ones as well. There are a few other public domain sci-fi type characters out there that are going to add to that. And then Flash Gordon comes along, will be public domain in 2030. And oh boy, can't wait for that. Flash Gordon right in there.
That sounds great. Oh my gosh, we are huge sci-fi fans.
Yeah.
Anything alien. And it's funny because I'm in like the best place for that in New Mexico.
Yes, yes, you are.
We did the Roswell Fest.
So we went to Roswell.
I just watched Disclosure Day, and it was blown away. It was a great movie. Great.
Yeah.
Okay.
I enjoyed the heck out of it. I thought it was fantastic.
Well, I hadn't even heard about it until a coworker of mine said, and I was like, "What is that?" And then she was like, "It's that new Alien movie," and I was like, "New Alien movie?" Yeah. I gotta watch it. Yeah, that's like it's my new thing.
Yeah,
this is new.
Well, you'll be happy to know that in the public domain superheroes universe, aliens are integral to the whole plot. What I've done when I built the universe is I have this pet peeve about superhero origin stories. They drive me nuts because there's so many of them, and they're all kind of like weirdly sort of kind of related, but they don't really. There's no sort of nice cohesive way to explain it. So I created one. I made one. I said, okay, Earth is central to my stories because I live here and it's easier to tell stories about what I know. So what I decided was that Earth is the only place in the universe that magic exists. So magic happens here. Well, why is that? That's pretty arbitrary. Why would you do that? Well, The reason it only exists here is that in the ancient past, the Empire of Mongo was at war with the elder gods of the universe who were magical in nature. And they basically drove them back to a point where they were able to imprison them behind what's called the Rock of Eternity. The Rock of Eternity is a Shazam Captain Marvel thing from Fawcett Comics back in the 1940s. And it's where Captain Marvel Shazam draws his power from. And I've recreated it as it's Earth. It's basically a big cork in a magical bottle that holds the elder gods out of the rest of the universe. And because we live on the cork, we get exposed to the sort of the bleed off through that cork, from that bottle. So magic happens here. We get characters like Captain Marvel, who's magic based. Eventually, we're going to get characters like Zatara and Dr. Fate and that sort of thing who are magic based. So then all of the other superheroes, now how do I do that? Well, what I've done with those is they all come from the Empire of Mongo. So if you have the superpower of super strength, it's because you have ancient alien DNA in you that when you took the super serum or got bitten by the spider or struck by the lightning or dropped in the bog or whatever, it activated that ancient alien DNA in you. And that's why you have that superpower. And that's also why when you and I get bitten by the spider or struck by lightning or dropped in a big pit, nothing happens because we don't have that. And that way it's all elegantly explained, and it gives me why there isn't, an entire army full of Captain Americas. They don't, because they tried the super soldier serum and it only worked on one guy because he's the only guy they tried it on who had that ancient alien DNA. So that's my way of making it all sort of make sense, because I've got characters with these weird backstories that are like, why does that even work? Like, that doesn't make any sense at all. Now it does, because whatever the crisis that happens to them, that's the thing that activates their superpower that they had all along.
That is very interesting.
Yeah. I like it.
Yeah. He's been trying to write a story for.
I've been trying.
Many years.
I hit writer's block. I get writer's block so much that I've started and stopped like 20 stories in the last 10 years at least.
Yeah.
And I have drafts of every single one of them. And one day I figure I'll finish one. But I don't know how.
I can totally relate. I most of my life, I'm 56. My first completed novel was in 2006, so 20 years ago. But I'd been writing since I was a kid. I'd been writing, I was 30 at that time. I'd been writing since I was a child. Never finished a thing. I had dozens of started novels, short stories, and I never finished one because I had a job and I had a girlfriend and I had things that I did do, and then I lost interest, or I just couldn't think of how to go to the next thing or whatever. Then I did the 3-day novel contest, and I spent $50. I spent $50 to enter it, and there was no damn way I was going to enter for $50 and not finish the book.
And not finish something.
I'm going to finish the book, and I did. And just this past year, I finished number 4 in the 3-day novel contest, which is the third book in the series I started back in 2006. I did that one in 2006, the sequel in 2007. I wrote a totally unrelated one in 2022, and then I finished the trilogy just last year. So I'm waiting for it to come out of Judgment so I can publish it, because I know I won't win. I never win.
That's pretty cool. I mean, maybe I'll force myself that day.
The pressure of having something where you've put money into it, my friend, it works. It'll make you motivated. It'll be like, hey, no way I'm doing $50 and throwing that away and not finishing the damn book.
Yeah, no, well, you know what? That's actually it's true, because he wanted to do voice acting.
Mm-hmm.
For years. He's wanted to do voice acting, and then finally he just got some new stuff for the computer, and he picked up a part. It's a small part,
but something's better than enough. Somewhere's a little start.
Yeah,
I say I check that box.
I now know somebody I'm going to talk to about narrating one of my books for an audiobook.
That sounds good. I'll try it. I'll do all kinds of voices too.
I'm in. I'm sold. We'll talk after. We'll talk after. I actually use Amazon just has beta launched an AI read audiobook feature. I don't particularly like it. It does a passable job. What it does for all you writers out there listening to this, what it does is it reads it back to you. And I'm telling you, when you hear your story read back to you by somebody else that's not you, so you're not sort of correcting your mistakes as you go, wow, better editing tool than any I've ever had in my life. It is the best thing. Now, in my case, I'm broke, so I can't afford to spend money on a human. So I use this AI thing because it's free, and I haven't sold a single one on it. I don't care if I ever do. They're there. I don't care. What they do for me though is the 4 or 5 books I pumped through this thing are all way better than they were before I pumped through it.
Wow.
A real and they had all been through professional editing by a professional, I paid real money for editing, and having it read back still revealed things that not only that editor but myself missed on multiple read throughs. And it was like, it was dead obvious when you heard it read back. It's like, oh, that's wrong. That doesn't work at all. And you look closer and you're like, oh wow, what have I done? Fix that. And yeah. So yes, you're hired. We're gonna talk. I will.
That is interesting.
Yeah,
I didn't know that did that either.
I didn't even think about that, having it read back to you. I know, but it makes sense.
They were doing AI. Amazon was doing AI dubbing over like certain cartoons, and I know they took down a few of them because I think the issue was it just didn't have like that emotion it was looking for, and so they took a lot of that stuff down. But it was like big outcry that it wasn't up to par for like the cartoons and stuff. So I can't wait. I can't wait to see what it does. Pretty excited.
Well, for books, what it does, it's like that. It's not as emotional as I would like. I much prefer. I would love to have a human being narrate all my books. I mean, that's the ideal. Is if I'm going to sell audiobooks, I'd really rather hire somebody talented to actually do it properly. But like I say, for me, I'm not doing it. I don't care whether I ever sell a single audiobook on the AI front. I don't care. But like I say, having them read back in a relatively humanistic voice with some emotion, with some sort of emphasis built in there, was enough to reveal literally dozens of mistakes that my pro editor missed.
Wow,
that's cool.
That's awesome.
Shoot.
You're gonna write a story, and you're gonna.
I'm gonna try. Shoot.
Yeah, he had this idea, and I thought it was really cool. It was actually just a story that
which one?
The one that you had told Caleb about the backpack.
Oh, about the magic backpack.
It was a magic backpack, but it was an alien. It had come down from outer space.
Okay.
Yeah. Everything's alien.
I know.
Well, like I said, I've used them. Talked about the ancient aliens thing. I don't buy it for a second. Personally, I don't think our planet is that interesting that anybody that can travel faster than the speed of light would bother with us, our little neck of the woods. But,
right.
But man, does it make for good storytelling. It is so for what I do, it is perfect. Because for instance, I have Professor Challenger, who's a public domain character created by the same guy who created Sherlock Holmes. Professor Challenger in my books runs across an old ancient spaceship that downloads a bunch of information into his head, and that sends him off on a bunch of adventures. And just that little, having that ability to make that happen that way solved a whole bunch of narrative problems for me. It was like, how do I get this guy to tell these 3 stories that I want to tell and make it sort of, well, now I know, and it works, and it's a perfect narrative device, and I use it and I love it. And I mean, if Georgios Tsoukalos was public domain, I'd put him in books too, because I love that hair. The guy's hair it's awesome.
Like anime hair.
That's totally. He's an anime character. You're not far off.
Yeah.
Do you have like a favorite character that you've written a story for?
Oh, I gotta say, it tends to be. This is I've been asked this a few times, and the answer is a bit wishy-washy, I'm afraid. It tends to be whatever I'm working on at the moment, because I get into, what I'm doing so far that I'm like, man, I love this character. I started off, the very first story I wrote was a character named Spy Smasher, who's created by the same people who created Shazam, who created Captain Marvel. It's from that same Fawcett Publications. And I was in love with Spy Smasher, man. I'm like, oh my God, I love Spy Smasher. And I did like an animatic, and I did a Kickstarter, and I was like, oh, I was going to be, I had all this plans. And that sort of led into other things, and I haven't touched him in a year. I loved him at the time, but I haven't gone back and written the sequel to his story. It's out there. His story, first story, is out there, and it's very foundational to my universe. But I've sort of ended up on all these other tangents where I'm doing all these other characters. I just literally published this guy. This is Cormac McCart, who is a semi-historical character. He's actually the name of two historical characters and a character created by the guy who created Conan, Robert E. Howard. And I basically, Robert E. Howard reimagined him from those two historical versions to his own, never published it. So I've reimagined him again. And now my Cormac McCart teams up and works for King Arthur, and has his own adventure that I'm calling the Odyssey of the Gale. He's Irish, so it's the Odyssey of the Gale. And he's basically my Irish Odysseus. He's going to be going on similar, and I didn't even know about the Odysseus movie until this was already in process. I'm like, oh, wow.
Oh, yeah.
I had no idea. But my very favorite character, to answer your question, probably Captain Marvel. And that was a total, like, I didn't intend that because I had this Superman idea. But through what I've written, Captain Marvel, what most people know as Shazam from the Shazam movie. He was originally called Captain Marvel in the comics. There's a whole convoluted backstory. I'll write an article on Substack one day to explain it all. But ultimately, he's as powerful in his own way as Superman. Slightly different power sets, a different mythological backstory, all that fun stuff. But I've now written 2 books about the Marvel family, and I've got a third one that's in production. It turns out Billy Batson and Captain Marvel are fantastic storytelling characters. There is so much to talk about there, especially the way I've done it, because I've changed a bunch of stuff. I've altered a lot. So there's been some Reddit backlash about my alterations. Some people don't like what I've done because my Billy Batson is a girl. So
Billy.
Bill, yeah, exactly. And they're all like, "Oh, why didn't you spell it Billie?" And I'm like, because she spells it Billy. I had nothing to do with it. Billy makes the rules. I'm just the writer, man. I'm just here.
Yeah.
But when she says Shazam and turns into the superhero, she still turns into a boy. She still turns into a male superhero. So that has all sorts of implications in the modern era about gender issues and all the rest of it. And I totally ignore that. I don't care. That's not why I did it. It's not why I did it at all. I did it because Billy thinks of superheroes as tall, blonde, buff white men, because that's what Hollywood has fed her for her whole life. They all look like Reacher, they all look like Chris Evans, they all look like Thor. That's what a superhero looks like. So when she becomes a superhero, that's what she becomes.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I'll spoil a little bit going forward, and it won't be revealed for almost a decade yet. That's how long my plans are, guys. I actually have like a decade's worth of plans for this.
I wish I had plans for a decade.
Yeah, me too.
But I literally have cork boards. I literally with cards, and they stretch across the room. It's like a huge. And I crazy yarn and the whole bit. It's insane. But
like a crane board.
But the thing with Billy is that, and I didn't intend this when I set out, but because the Rock of Eternity is so integral to how all the powers work in my universe, and the story and the whole Mongo Empire putting it in place, and all of the powers that are other superheroes who are not magical coming from that, and the direct relationships to that whole sort of Fawcett created thing, Billy has become the linchpin in terms of how the story will play out in the future. The Billy Batson Captain Marvel character is probably, aside from the villain I have yet to reveal, Billy Batson and Captain Marvel are essentially the stars of the show. They are the most important part. Doesn't mean that there isn't other characters. I cannot wait to get my hands on Superman and Batman and Green Lantern and Wonder Woman and Dr. Fate and the Spectre and the Atom and all the rest of them that are coming. I cannot wait. But in the meantime, I got to wait 7 years for Superman, 8 years for Batman, 9 years for Captain America, 10 years for Wonder Woman. So, I mean, I got to tell stories in between there. So there's a lot of time to get before I get to those characters. And they will be as important too. They've got their own roles. I've got plans for all of that stuff. But I get to tell Captain Marvel stories. How much fun is that? I grew up I'm way older than you guys. In 1970s, I knew who Captain Marvel was before I knew who Superman was. I'd never heard of Superman. I'm 6 years old watching television, and there's a live action Shazam show. And that was what I knew a superhero was. That's what I learned how a superhero operates. Yeah. Then when I was a little older, I discovered Superman and Batman and all the rest of them. But the first exposure, Captain Marvel, man, when I was a little gaffer. That's where I'm at. Yeah. Here I am writing stories about him 50 years later.
So do you I know you said you reimagine characters. Do you create your own?
Oh yes. Every time, even though I'm using public domain, and I get this, the other question I get all the time is, why don't you create your own heroes? Well, because you wouldn't be talking to me about it if I was just talking about my hero, Captain Awesome, who nobody had ever heard of. But when I start telling you that I'm using Shazam and Buck Rogers, and I'm going to use Conan, and then people say, oh, what's that all about? And so there's interest there. That's why I do that. That's part of the marketing. It's part of the plan. But it also means I got to write books about these people, and there's just not enough to just say, okay, I'm going to use Captain Marvel and Billy Batson, and I'm going to write a story. I still need a villain. I still need supporting cast. I still need other characters they meet along the way. In some cases, I pull them out of the other public domain things. So in the case of Captain Marvel, she's interacted with Ibis, who is another Fawcett creation. Ibis has interacted with a bunch of my characters because he's semi-immortal. So he's gone way back in time to the future. He's all over the place, and he's again another integral character. But I also, when I do Buck Rogers' story, I need other characters, right? Like I've got Buck Rogers and I've got Wilma Deering, but I need a villain. I need other characters for them to interact with, and some of them I can't use. Like there's a character from the Buck Rogers TV show called Dr. Theopolis, who is a little AI sort of necklace that one of the robots wears, and he's a character just in this little sort of, that big, but he's a very intelligent sort of entity. I can't use him. He was created in the 1970s for the Buck Rogers TV show. He's copyrighted by them. So I created a city that Buck Rogers ends up in that's called Theopolis. That's where he ends up. So, but he also has to interact. Another character from that show, if you might be familiar with, is Tweaky, who was the little silver robot who was sort of sassy, voiced by Mel Blanc, the Bugs Bunny guy. And he was Buck Rogers' little sidekick, again, created for the TV show I grew up with. I can't use him. But I created Mickey, who is a modular, integrated kinetic intelligence, Mickey, M-I-K-I, who she's not a robot. She's an AI who lives in the city's systems. And she can present as a little cart. She can present as a little, like a Roomba. She can present as a voice on a screen. She's all over the place. And Buck actually carries her in a little wristband. And she's in the little wristband, and she's sassy as hell. And she's his like sassy sidekick. I have Penny. Penny is my psychic pentapus. She's an octopus, but she only has 5 limbs, so she's a pentapus, not an octopus.
Oh.
She's the sidekick of a character named Crash Corrigan. Penny is part of a giant amalgamated organism. She's one cell in this massive psychic organism, and the Empire of Mongo uses these little critters as translators. They sit on the shoulder and they translate. They wrap a tentacle around your ear, and they can talk to you psychically in your brain, and they can talk to each other psychically. So when you're talking to somebody else who has one, they can translate for you. Wow. And the whole story with the Crash Corrigan story is that everybody has one of these things on this place where Crash Corrigan ends up, and they use them like we use Kleenex. They're just disposable things that, you know, you pick up another one, you put it on. They're just a thing, right? Nobody thinks about it. But Crash isn't from there. He puts this thing on his shoulder. It starts talking to him, and he makes friends with it because that's what else would you do, right? I mean, what else would you do? So it turns out that these little entities that the whole empire of Mongo has totally ignored as a tool are actually way more powerful than they give them credit for. And because Crash makes friends with Penny and gives her a name, first name any of them have ever had, and they're all psychically connected, suddenly Crash has an entire ecosphere of allies that the Empire can't touch because they use technology to translate, not the Pentapusses. They only give the Pentapus to prisoners because they don't want prisoners getting a hold of technology. So they don't know anything about this, and that's the whole crux of the story in there. But yes, Penny's my favorite. My favorite self-created character is Penny by far. Penny's like the sassy big sister, little sister, whatever you. I actually have had more compliments about Penny and the interactions of Crash and Penny than anything else I've written. Penny is beloved, and she's great. And she's going to be, I love Penny. She's the best. She's the best.
That's cool.
That is cool.
Yeah, I like that.
Man. We gotta get to thinking here.
Yeah. I mean, we gotta
mission accomplished. Excellent.
Oh my goodness. That's cool.
Yeah.
Did you
I'm not sure. Have you traveled and like physically traveled like conventions and stuff and like set up booths and like talk to people and see how's that?
I've done 2 live events.
Okay.
Neither terribly successful. But I live in a small town. I'm very where I live. The next town, put it this way, the next town over has less than 25,000 people. And that's the Big Bird. That's like the nearest big place is there. And it's only 25,000 people. My town is like 4,000 people. We don't do, author events and that sort of thing. Like that's just we're just not big enough. I've done one in Kingston, which is a city about an hour from here, which is more of a Canadian city size of probably 500,000 people, something like that. And I've done one in Brockville, which is the town I was talking about. Again, neither one terribly successful, more for experience. And then, of course, I'm working nights right now. So I'm all summer long, I'm working nights. So the idea of going to a convention on a weekend that starts at 8 a.m. and I have to be there awake between 8 a.m. and like 4 in the afternoon, forget it. I just can't do it. That's when I sleep. So this year, it's pretty much a bust. I haven't really come the fall. I'm hoping to find a few more events like this. What I'm also learning is that most of these are basically booked like in the fall for the summer. So I was unaware of that. So I didn't sort of jump into it for this summer. I didn't know that I needed to sort of start thinking about this stuff this far in advance. So there's a note on my board to start looking into like, Comic-Con type stuff. Yeah. But not all of them are free. Not all of them are accessible. And for me, I'm not sure. The first one I did was pure auth, like just sort of a mix of different books. My stuff is very genre, and I was like the only comic book adjacent guy there. So I sort of stuck out, which I thought would be good, but wasn't all that good.
Oh.
No, people were there for romantasy and romance, and that was what was selling. Myself and the only other man that were there, he was selling a nonfiction book about the Canadian military, and like tumbleweeds past our booths. It was not very well attended for us.
Oh, hey, I think it's great.
Yeah,
I think it's great. And do you have a Discord?
Discord is one thing I haven't actually pursued. I've got so many other sort of places where I'm active, like Substack and Reddit, and I've got the Facebook page, and I maintain my own website, and I've got an Insta and an X. And I sort of run out of energy after.
Oh no,
yeah, there's a lot.
I get that. Well, we'll have to see how we can get you out there, because what you got going on is great. It's really great, and I mean, you're very creative. You have very cool sounding characters. Like, oh my gosh, and yeah, people need to hear it.
I do a lot of these Substack interviews with other authors, and I'm sitting where you are asking the questions. This is wonderful. I never get to go off on my rants about my stuff. So this is a blast. Thank you for having me. I'm having such a good time talking about.
Yeah, of course.
Honestly, for me, these characters are beloved. Like, I really do. People watching might be going, "Man, he's really yes, I am really enthusiastic, and that's real. I love this stuff. I just absolutely love this stuff, and I can't write fast enough to do everything I want to do. This is I just have so many ideas, so many things I want to do, and to reassure anybody who's thinking about jumping into my universe, yes, I have a plan. There is an end game. I have a date when I'm going to start writing the final parts of this universe. Doesn't mean that I'm not going to ever write after that about this universe, but there's a single plot that I've been putting out for the last 11 months. That plot will go to 2039, and in 2039, I'm going to start wrapping up that plot that year. I plan to basically have the plot finished 2040. Now,
that's your counter.
Yeah, that's my counter. That's why there's a counter on the website. The date of 2040 doesn't mean that I'll never come back and write more Captain Marvel stories, and it doesn't mean necessarily that the universe ends then. But my plot portion of it will end, and there will be a massive change. It's sort of my crisis point, my end game, my whatever you want to call it. All the good names have been taken. all the good finale names have been taken. Every time I think of one, I'm like, nope. DC did it. Nope. Marvel did it. Nope. It's already been done. So I have to come up with a better term for it. But basically, there is an end. There's a plan for the end. And the other thing that I want to let people know, if they don't already know, when you're reading one of my books and you come across something and you say to yourself, wow, okay, that's the Gauntlet of Naboo. Is that Naboo as in yes, that's who I mean. Exactly. Whoever you think I mean, that's who I mean. I can't use them right now because they're still under copyright, but I can tell you they're there. The whole point of what I'm doing is that when these characters hit public domain, I'm not adding them to my universe that year. I'm revealing that they've been there all along that year.
Oh.
That's the difference. I'm not saying, okay, Superman 2034, Superman enters my universe. No. Superman lives in my universe today, already, yesterday, today, tomorrow. He's already there. I just can't tell stories about him yet.
Yeah.
I'm not allowed legally to tell Superman stories. But if you read closely what I'm writing and you read carefully the books that I've put down, not in every book, but every so often, you're going to run across something, and you're going to run across a character saying something about something they read or something they heard about. And you're like, is he? Yes, I am. That's who I'm talking about. I'm talking about that guy. Whoever you think I'm talking about, that's who I'm talking about.
It's little Easter eggs.
Big time. Lots of them. The closer I get to the character's reveals, the more that'll happen. Mainly because obviously I'm trying to set up, my Superman book when it comes or whatever. But also because I sort of figure like DC Comics, if it's, November 2033 and Superman becomes public domain in 2034, and somebody happens to run across one of my books and say, I think he's talking about Superman. That's real. Well, I doubt they're going to really be that concerned with a month to go. So the closer I get to those dates, the more I'm going to skirt that line, the more I'm going to sort of walk closer and closer to reveals. I can't actually ever cross that line, but right now I'm over here. Like right now I'm here and I'm talking about it. The year before the reveal year, I'll be pretty close to the line. I'll be like, okay, I'm right about here.
Yeah. Hey, that's really cool.
Yeah.
That is neat. Man.
Oh, shoot. I don't have much
I can't
else.
think of any more. Aw.
It left them speechless.
No, I dig what you're doing. I think it's awesome.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And I do appreciate you guys having me on. I'm so glad to see you here on Substack, because honestly, this place is so much more friendly to folks like yourselves who want to create something and are new to it. So we're all learning. We're all sort of figuring out how we do things.
Yeah.
And this place is more open to that than anywhere else I've found online. Everywhere else online sort of expects you to be an expert before you open your mouth.
Yeah.
There's kind of this like, well, what do you mean you're saying you don't know everything? Well, no, I don't. I don't know everything. Obviously, that's kind of the point of having a discussion, not a lecture. But
right.
Yeah. So I'm so glad. I'm so glad to mention you guys. It's great to see you here, and thank you so much for having me. This is so much fun for me as somebody who does what you do. Being on the other side of this is a hoot. I love it. It's having a fun.
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
Next time I'll have you guys on. And I'll interview you about building a podcast. How about that?
Okay.
That'd be cool.
Yeah,
I'm down.
that'll definitely be cool.
Excellent.
All right.
I guess until next time.
Fantastic. Well, thanks very much for having me, guys. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you for being on.
Thank you for being on. Appreciate you.
Yeah.
Take care.
You too.